As the presidential motorcade moved through Dealey Plaza, a series of shots rang out. In a matter of seconds, the President of the United States was struck down. But how many shots were there? The vast majority of onlookers only heard 3, the 3 that Oswald fired. But at least 19 witnesses reported hearing 4. Could there be photographic evidence of a hidden gunman who fired that extra shot? One photographer standing on the side of Elm Street that afternoon snapped a photo at the instant the fatal shot struck the president. The background for her photo was the Grassy Knoll. In this tiny, grainy image, produced by Marianne Moorman's Highlander 80A Polaroid camera, is what some conspiracy theorists believe is the smoking gun, literally. At first glance, the shadows and shapes of the Grassy Knoll reveal nothing more than trees and a fence. But upon closer examination, in an area just above and behind a wall, some researchers have found the foggy image of a man who appears to be firing a gun.
About 16 feet north of the southeast corner of that stockade fence, they see some guy, they say, with a uniform on, and he has a badge. And they call him the Badge Man, and they say he's the Grassy Knoll assassin.
And you're saying that that would be his hairline right in here. This is the hairline, forehead.
To investigate the mystery of Badge Man, we have enlisted the services of photogrammetrist George Pearl and his assistant photographer Joe Cook. They plan to restage the Moorman photo and geographically determine if the position of the Badge Man could have been used by a sniper. First, they make a negative image that will allow them to look through the picture and use known objects to line up geometric points of symmetry in the plaza.
Look through here, and I'm going to
the following morning, Pearl and Cook set up in Dealey Plaza with the same model camera used by Marianne Moorman.
So that then I can project this image back out over the scene and align what Miss Moorman did years ago.
After 20 minutes of meticulous adjustments, the modern-day plaza is perfectly aligned with the old image.
It's like a time machine. You can actually walk around in Miss Mary Moorman's photograph.
Next, George puts an actor precisely where he believes the Badge Man image appears in Marianne Moorman's photo. But would the Badge Man have had a clear shot at the president? Another actor portraying John F. Kennedy is now matched into the Moorman photo, taken at the instant of the fatal shot to the president's head.
Okay, Mr. President, bend over just a tad more. You're right there.
Now we can place our camera at the Badge Man location and determine what a sniper would have seen as he looked up Elm Street. Even though the trees now obscure a clear view, it is evident that the Badge Man would have had an open shot at the president along Elm Street, if the Badge Man did indeed exist.
It does certainly appear to be a person in that photograph and in the darkness of the area behind this fence.
But what happens when we analyze the same photo on a computer?
The area of interest is relatively dark.
We asked Cognitech in Pasadena, California, to examine each and every pixel of Marianne Moorman's controversial image. Using photo enhancement software, Dr. Lenny Rudin and his team will attempt to detect a human form somewhere in these fuzzy patches of light and dark.
From the point of view of a computer, an image is just a set of numbers. How do we know that there is something there? Well, that's a great mystery, but there are some developments in this field that allows computers to recognize images.
Since Marianne Moorman used Polaroid print film instead of a 35mm negative, it is much harder to enhance the dark shadows around the Badge Man location.
There are various methods of enhancement. One is called contrast enhancement, when you simply try to bring things from the shadows or reduce highlights. Okay, so let's try a little bit more. Let's see, that's interesting. So now we see what people call a badge man. This is the badge, these are the shoulders of the man, and this is the head of the man with a short haircut. Okay? I mean, one can interpret this.
Dr. Rudin uses both contrast enhancement and de-blurring techniques to try to bring out some recognizable human detail.
The badge man on the drawing had glasses, so we were expecting to apply some of our techniques and see those glasses more clearly. As a matter of fact, we didn't. We would expect to see some sort of facial features, for example, a nose or ears or eyes that distinguish individuals from each other, and we did not see any better feature differentiation after we applied our techniques.
Dr. Rudin can't confirm the existence of a person in these shadows, so he decides to cross-check the badge man's size.
The question is, what is his true size?
With the help of another photo of the Grassy Knoll taken by a press photographer just minutes after the assassination, Dr. Rudin lines up a common element in both photos, the white retaining wall.
Let's see how it compares with the original picture. There's a technique to do this. It's called three-dimensional registration. We are able to compare images that are taken by different cameras from different locations at different time.
With the 5-foot wall as a reference point, Dr. Rudin measures the people in the photos, including the badge man, and begins to calculate their relative sizes.
So let's measure him from what appears to be 1/3 of his torso. And let's measure the size of the badge man, okay? So we record that. Now, according to our calculation, and assuming that the person standing here is roughly 6 feet, we deduce that the badge man or a shooter is 2.88 feet tall. That's impossible.
If this is indeed a person, either he is extremely short or he's standing somewhere else.
If this object called a badge man is in fact a human being, this human being would have to be much further away from the crime scene than was originally proposed. And then we can compare it to the scale.
Dr. Rudin calculates that the badge man would have to be standing 40 feet behind the Grassy Knoll fence. And to get a clear shot at the president, he would have to be 16 to 20 feet off the ground. This would place the assassin in the wide open spaces of a railroad yard, with no place to hide as he waited to fire his weapon.
It's either a person who stands very, very far away and on a very tall ladder, or it is not a person at all.